As we bow our heads, we take one or two deep breaths and completely relax our bodies. We breathe easily, gently drawing upon the power of God within and retreating from all concerns. We are immersed in universal intelligence and infinite love. May we know our oneness with God as we pray. May we feel the presence of Spirit's peace and love. Spending time in communion with God lights my way through life. As I center myself in the divine presence within, my inner spirit becomes bright. With each breath, I am increasingly aglow. The light of God burns steadily within me, like a candle with an eternal flame. As I shine my light in the world, I am a voice of clarity and hope in moments of turmoil. I am an expression of comfort and faith, blessing those who struggle. I am faith-filled and confident as I follow my inner guidance. And now, let us go into the silence. The silence. From John chapter 8, verse 12, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. God illuminates my inspiration, imagination, and understanding. Today I make a sacred commitment to let my brilliant light shine wherever I am and wherever I go. And so it is. Amen. Meant light. When I was growing up, the Christmas tree stood on the table in the bay window of the living room. I loved it so much. I would lie on the couch and look up at it, and I never got tired of looking. We had bubble lights, remember those? And they fascinated me. I would look at one, and then another, and another. And we had such beautiful ornaments that had been handed down. When Mother was decorating the tree, I had to look at as many of them as I possibly could. The one I loved the most was a little pink bell about this big, so tiny and so perfect. Lights. When my daughters were little, we had a wonderful time with Advent calendars. They would take turns opening the little doors, which we would open after breakfast when we were all together. Also wonderful was lighting the Advent candles. We always did that on Sunday evening. Then we would sing Away in a Manger or Silent Night, depending on their ages. It was always a very special time. At the center of the Christmas decorations on the buffet was the creche. We put candles around it so all the people and animals were seen very clearly. My younger daughter, in particular, loved to rearrange the animals and the three wise men and to walk the wise men into the stable and or very close to it. As you can tell, the creche was always a very special part of Christmas. And we always talked about Christmas being the date chosen to celebrate the birth of Jesus. In Unity, on this first Sunday in Advent, we focus on faith and hope. A wonderful affirmation for this first Sunday is, on this day of Advent, my hope is anchored in my faith in God. On this day of Advent, my hope is anchored in my faith in God. Our founder, Charles Fillmore, said light comes first of all the qualities into our consciousness. Light, he said, is a symbol of wisdom. When Jesus said, I am the light of the world, in John chapter 8, verse 12, he meant that he had gained truth with a big T, standing for God in all its aspects. James Dillett Freeman talks about Christmas as a flowering that he said culminates from many months of growing. He said Christmas is a wonderful way to celebrate, quote, our happy fancies and deep down needs, end quote. we have a wish and a necessity to express our wonder and love and joy and delight in beauty and in one another. Christmas in the Northern Hemisphere comes at the darkest time of the year. It arrives just after the shortest day of the year, when it is such a shock to look outside at 5 p.m. and realize it's already dark. Then in the morning, the sunrise is so late. Today it was at 7:03. It seems so strange and so unreal to me to have morning come so late and nighttime come so early. Light is so important to us. Light is apparently very important to our cats, too. Each morning now, they are getting up later and eating less food. I have changed food, thinking they're bored, but that doesn't seem to be the problem. They are just sleeping more and eating less. Lighting the darkness of winter is wonderful, but Christmas is about so much more. Most important, of course, is that we celebrate the birth of Jesus at Christmas time. Jesus has brought light into so many of our lives, and so it is appropriate that we celebrate his birth at the darkest time of the year. Many years ago, on a Christmas Eve in southwestern Iowa, and I've told this story before, but please don't mind. Most of the children I knew, and many grown-ups too, were watching for a white Christmas. It didn't seem possible, even though we sang Bing Crosby's "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas" over and over and over. It had been a very dry fall, and the sight that met our eyes as we looked across the land was brown, and not a trace of white. I was 7 years old at that time. My twin brothers, Ronald and Donald, were 6, and my sister Patricia was 5. Our mother had shepherded us all to the annual Christmas Eve celebration at our beautiful Methodist church. When we entered by the huge oak doors, there was a wonderful air of expectation. Candles and greenery decorated the furniture and walls. We walked into the sanctuary and found candles on the windowsills of all the beautiful stained glass windows. In the huge choir loft, there was a giant Christmas tree, decorated beautifully with lights and ornaments. Underneath it were many packages. We all gathered around and sang Christmas carols with our hearts and our voices purely in the moment. All of a sudden, there was a loud jangle and clanging of cowbells. We stopped singing and listened and heard heavy footsteps coming up the back stairs. We knew what was going to happen, but we were thrilled all the same. Then Santa Claus entered the choir loft to the applause of all us children. Santa talked about how good we had all been and said he had come to help us celebrate Christmas. Wow. In the next few moments, gifts and treats were handed out to all of us. Surprisingly, Santa knew all our names. And I had begun to realize that Santa sounded a lot like Mr. Ebel, who owned and operated the YBR store downtown. However, that did not keep me from enjoying the fun completely. After the festivities, we all left for home saying Merry Christmas to everyone as we began to leave the sanctuary. However, as the big oak doors opened again, we realized the world had undergone a wonderful transformation while we were inside. Snow covered everything, and big fluffy flakes were falling fast. We were so thrilled. Ronald and Donald took Patricia's hand, and the three of them ran off toward home. Mother took my hand, and we walked slowly behind them, with each of us marveling at the beautiful snowflakes. As we walked, we sang Silent Night together. The picture of our newly transformed world and the beauty of the night is stamped indelibly upon my heart. The wonderful closeness I always felt with my mother, and the peace and beauty of the snow falling all around us was unforgettable. Years later, Mother and I talked about that night, and her memories were the same as mine. Funny how feelings of peace and love and connectedness never leave us. The Native American flute has such a tranquil sound, a sound that is meditative and encircling, and draws people together in feelings of love and peace. I like to think of our Unity congregation uniting in moments of quiet contemplation as the wooden flute is being played. Years ago, when Dave was still working, we drove to Nashville, Tennessee, so Dave could attend a conference. We stayed at a Marriott on the hill, where the view of the city was wonderful. Then we drove to the grounds of the famous hotel near Ryman Auditorium, where many performers and visitors stayed. The grounds were all decorated for Christmas, with more lights in one place than I have ever seen. An enormous Christmas tree and smaller trees, all decorated beautifully. A canal ran through the grounds. There were shrubs and small trees and beautiful poinsettias everywhere. And everywhere there were lights. We walked around the grounds and watched ducks splashing in shallow water and little children playing in a fountain. And everywhere, lights, lights. Jesus is a symbol of light for so many of us. He is our teacher, our way shower, and the perfect example of how to live our lives in a close relationship with God. Jesus was a Jewish man of Arabic descent. He probably had olive-colored skin and dark brown or black hair and brown eyes. He may or may not have had a beard. He was probably fairly short by today's standards, at 5'5" or 5'6". It's hard to know because, of course, there were no pictures of Jesus. What we do know is that he was a simple man with a powerful message. The girls and I once had a very special cat, Simon. Simon was an apple-head Siamese, the old-fashioned kind of Siamese. They have round heads and strong bodies. These cats are always very loving and very intelligent. Simon loved the lights on the Christmas tree. From the time the lights and the ornaments were first put on the tree, all the way through Christmas, and until the tree had to be taken down and thrown away, Simon loved lying on the soft blue tree skirt, surrounding the trees and looking up into the trees. He did not tire of looking at all the lights and ornaments. Then he would have a peaceful Christmas nap. That was Simon's special napping place all through the Christmas season. A cat who loved the lights and the ornaments. Wonderful. Each of us is God's expression in the world. And we are also God's light. We decide how brightly and for whom or for what we will shine. What will our expression of light be this coming year and in the years to come? James Dillett Freeman is known as Unity's Poet Laureate. In the last couple of years when I was taking classes at Unity Village, I would often see him in the dining room or walking. I always marveled at his glowing countenance. He simply glowed. And I always felt he had a very close relationship with Spirit. This is a poem he wrote for Christmas back in 1959, entitled The Star and The Star and the Light. Child, child, what do you see peering into infinity? A child has the power of seeing far. Do you see to faith? Is faith a star? You are yourself the star and the light, God's human candle in the night. And all the darkness and all the doubt will never put the God light out. Child, child, the light you see is the glimmer of your divinity. Dear friends, your lights have shone brightly for me since early in 1982, when I first attended Unity here in Springfield. I have so many happy memories of time spent with all of you. This year, let us celebrate Christmas joyously by giving ourselves our love and our light. Now I'd like to close with another poem by James Dillett Freeman that he wrote in 1953. When you wake Christmas morning, may all you wish be there. Oh, may the Spirit of the Christ into your heart descend. I wish you Merry Christmas. It means I love you, friend. And now I'm supposed to announce the song, but I don't